Hi everyone. No, I wasn't intending to post another video so quickly, but then there was a question and I had a couple of things which I thought might be helpful for beginners to 3D printing to know. So first of all, Dio asked a question about how to set servo angles to get them in the right position. So I'll just demonstrate here. Remember yesterday in the video I talked about leg 8 being at the right angle. This is servo 8 here, which I subsequently discovered had failed. So I had to replace it. This is the old servo which has come out. It's got a new one in there. So now to get this in the right position, I had to make sure the servo was parked at the right angle before I put it in. So to do that, before taking the servo out, what I did was I would move the leg gently, like that, to the position where I want it. Then I can grab the new servo, assume this is the new one, put a horn on it, like that, and gently wind that. Now remember, this one's going that way, so I want this one to go the same way, that way, and by winding it like that I can say, okay, well that's parked at that extreme position there. Now gently bring it back. So by doing that I can say, okay, I know now, going that way, winding the horn that way. I now know if I install this servo and put the horn in like that with the servo there, it's going to be in the right position and I'll be off to a good start. Now the key word here is winding gently. They might take a little bit of a push to get them started, but once they're going you can wind them like that. The other thing is you cannot do this while there is power to the servo. The servo simply won't move if there's power to the servo, and you'll end up stripping the gears and damaging it. Now the reason these servos are failing during testing is exactly that reason. The servo's got the angles out slightly, and say this servo is set a bit too far this way, when it comes here it's pushing against that stop. So there's a constant strain to the motor and eventually the servos will fail. So while you're testing, it's a good idea to be ready to pull the power. If you see a servo's there and it's making a buzzing noise, it means it hits the stop and the engine is straining against the stop, which will cause the servo to fail. If that happens, you just pull the power and then adjust your servo angles and start again. So that's the thing with setting servo angles. The other thing I wanted to talk about, oh actually there's a couple of things. The first thing is a problem I had when I was starting out with 3D printing is when your print comes out of the printer, it's like this. It's got all sorts of support and all sorts of things on it. You attack it with your X-Acto knife, and of course in the process you end up slicing your hands up. And I just got so sick of cutting my hands so badly all the time that I thought there had to be a solution, and this is the solution. It's a anti-cut glove. These are quite cheap. I'll post a link to where you can buy these on AliExpress, and as you can see they're quite cut resistant. I'd be slicing myself to pieces if I was doing this with the X-Acto knife with no protection. They're quite snug fitting as well, which means they're not too cumbersome, so you can handle things reasonably easily. And honestly, they will save you a lot of blood, if not sweat and tears. So they're well worth the spend. A quick point on these, by the way, no pun intended, is that these are slice resistant, they are not stab resistant. So you still have to be a bit careful, but they will actually, as I say, save you a lot of blood and grief. The other thing is, to get out construction, the thing I found which is easy to use are these needle nose pliers. What you can do is just jump into the support, and just squeeze like that. It breaks the support loose and makes it a lot easier to get out. Rather than try to cut it all out, I found this is a good way to get the support and various other leftover bits and pieces in there. So that's a couple of quick tips. The other thing, now I know when I set out to make these videos I said I was looking to find mistakes and errors that people make. Well, I found another doozy, and that is that the angles I had figured out for this spot were wildly optimistic. You might have noticed in the previous video that Spot was standing a lot taller than it is now. That's because I based the angles on videos of the actual Spot Mini, which obviously is a much more sophisticated device than this. So now I've come back and realised that the angles need to be a lot lower like this. The leg won't actually reach right out to the front like I was showing in the last video. It's probably only going to come forward about to there, and then down and step. So I'm back to the drawing board with working out the angles, but at least now I've got the process down pat, so it should be fairly quick to work through those. I don't think there's anything else that's happened in the interim. No, I think that's about it. If I have any other ideas, I'll put them in the description, and I'll put in a link to where you can buy these on AliExpress. They really are quite cheap, and you only need one, unless you're clever enough to be able to cut yourself with the hand that's holding the knife with the knife, which I'm not clever enough to do. So you only need one, even though they come in pairs. So they're well worth the purchase. And I'll leave it there. If you have any questions, as always, please post them, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks. Bye.